it doesn't. Kelly needs no prep. Welcome to episode 18 of No One Asked Us with Kelly Yale. Thank you, Kelly, for joining us. As always, we had ChatGPT write your bio. I have no idea if it's accurate or not because we've never met until this very moment. But we're going to find out, Kelly. All right. Kelly Yale, CMO at Octo Strategies, the CMO who makes marketing strategies look effortless and billion-dollar CRMs seem like side projects. With 15 plus years of experience across finance, SaaS, and fintech, Kelly has helped lenders boost sales by, wait for it, $70 billion. She's equal parts data evangelist and relationship builder, turning tech stacks into growth engines that actually feel human. At Octo Strategies, she serves fractional CMO and business consultant, blending coffee, creativity, and a little marketing magic. She's also the author of Mastering Mortgage Marketing, proving she doesn't just talk strategy, she literally wrote a book on it. In short, Kelly's the unicorn who can sell sand in a desert, but prefers to build systems that keep brands, revenues, and relationships thriving. I really like that bio. Was it accurate though, Kelly?
It's fairly accurate.
Yeah. All right, there we go. Well, thanks so much for joining us. As a segue, I have to drop at the half, so Mason and PK have it all good to go. Hopefully, it doesn't end when I drop off of it. I guess we're gonna find out real quick. So, Kelly, nobody grows up as a little kid going, I just desperately want to be a fractional CMO in the mortgage space. So tell us just a little bit, like, how did you end up, in mortgage and finance and really finding that, kind of more marketing and tech aspect to it?
Well, what's really funny is how I said no to it first. I opened one of the first social media marketing companies in the United States, certainly in the southeast of the United States. And I started taking on several clients. It was fun in the day to try and walk into a business and tell them someday you're going to be doing social sales. And they were like, "You mean the thing my college kid's on?" And I'm like, yeah, we should probably get you doing that. One of those customers happened to be a large bank that's here in Charlotte. And one of the board members of that bank is Casey Crawford, CEO of Movement Mortgage. And at the time he had all of, I think, 11 employees and was calling it New American Funding. So you can imagine New American Lending is what it was, which is how they got their name of Movement. I know way too much about all this stuff. Anyway, Casey and I met and loved him, was super excited about the idea. But at the time I was running this great company. I didn't want to be in mortgage. And I was like, "Hey, you seem amazing. And I'm sure it's going to be great, but I'm not even interested in working in mortgage." Flash forward 2.5 years or so. And I took a branch of a mortgage company on as a client. Right. And proceeded to put together a marketing strategy and a digital footprint for the Charlotte area that was pretty transformative for them, and realized very quickly that if I simply built out a CRM solution that combined the things that I was good at, which was making beautiful websites, content, strategy, social, personalized marketing, all that kind of stuff, that we would have this incredible tool that no one else did, which ended up being insanely true over the next 6 or 7 years. Has Casey ever stopped giving me crap about it? No, he has not. Not a one time I have ever seen him. And I live here in Charlotte, so you can imagine how often that is. But do I regret not working for Casey? 1,000,000%. And that's the first time I ever said that. I'm going to have to tag him in this so he sees it. I do regret it. I think that if I would have worked for Casey, I would have had a totally different runway. But I would have the same ideas, and it could have just been a very different thing.
Right. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. So if you don't mind, for those, and by the way, anybody who's watching live, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and we will do our best to get them asked. But for those of you those watching who may, God, Chris, I can't talk today.
How about Kelly? Tell us what you do and tell us about your company.
Tell us about Octo.
Kelly, before we started, I said, Andrew, I've met Kelly just 2 times, or the time you're in Salt Lake, and as the first person, I was like, maybe I cuss too much. And then we might have the first time the guest cuss other than just me. So anyway, go ahead, tell us about you.
Well, I promise not to swear, I think. I rabidly loved building out mortgage technologies for many years. But as we all experienced in 2020 and 2021, there wasn't any bandwidth for most companies to be thinking about where we are now. In fact, I don't think they're thinking about where we're going now. I feel like all we do is stand on a treadmill and talk about how fast we run, and we don't go anywhere. We talk about all the things we're going to do and can do and should do and might do, and then we just keep on the treadmill because we were building advanced logic into CRM systems long before the letters AI became the only other word that most people in mortgage can say. But AI only matters in your business if you happen to know why you need AI to do something and have the people with the skill set to build it. Otherwise, you're just regurgitating whatever ChatGPT told you to say on LinkedIn today. And so the last few years, I really spent my time saying, please just stop. I've got 8 C-suite human beings who have worked in technology and mortgage and marketing and strategy and recruiting and onboarding. We've got the people who you need to give you the strategy you want to deploy. Do you have the point people to deploy it? If you don't, that's okay too. You can outsource deployment to our team. But for the most part, you need more than I liked this link on LinkedIn that talked about how important AI is. I need you to say, we understand that we need to be as mortgage as we are technology, and we want to move into a space where we create a lot more opportunity and wealth, and we're able to truly say that we have dialed in what we need to survive for the next 3 years.
Wow. So what are you doing right now with who are your target clients?
Target clients, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you the 2 things I say all the time. If you're a female CEO of a mortgage company, I will work for you right now at your company, in your company, and I will build you the sweetest marketing tech suite you've ever seen and scale your company. You don't even have to pay me a lot of money. You can just give me an override on production. I'm Kelly Yale. Find me on LinkedIn.
Not a lot of money, just an override on production.
I don't. Are you kidding me? I charge $150 a seat at Motivator. It churned billions.
Right.
Billions. So if I would never charge $149, imagine where we'd be right now. I'd be talking to you from the Bahamas and laughing at you guys for still working in mortgage tech. I mean, it's not untrue. So no, I always say that because people always say, like, will you go work in another mortgage company? Would you ever go back and work in another mortgage company? I would say, yeah, absolutely. I want a female CEO. The end. So there's only a few of them. So I'm looking right at you. You know who you are. The second component of it is like, who's our target audience? I mean, you got to understand, like, I'm not wasting time anymore. So that is one of the things that I'm really particular about when we work with a mortgage company. I don't need anybody's egos in the way. I don't want you to pretend that you have a CRM just because you signed a contract with one. I want you to take it really seriously. I'm not banting about possibilities. I'm telling you that we can dial in your technology. We can dial in your human capital. We can automate the best intentions of your salespeople, but you have to have someone who's in charge of that, who speaks sales, marketing, and tech simultaneously. Now, there's people on this call that can do that, but the talent pool is insanely shallow on those for those of us that can. I don't care who you put that up against. But if I walk into a mortgage company and I've got a CTO with a chip on their shoulder because they think they should do X, Y, or Z, but the rest of the C-suite isn't listening, and I've got a maligned CMO because people still think it's a flyer factory, those aren't my clients. Okay. I wrote a whole book and it's dedicated literally to CMOs. It's for the C-suite. So a CMO can hand the book to them and go, if we want to be a company in 3 years, this is the kind of bandwidth you need to give me. So I want to talk to people who are serious and who want to build for the future and who don't want to play, technology shell games. I want to talk to people who are like, hey, we know we have a hole. We know we could be better, and we want to serve our customers, not our loan officers, our customers. We want to make the loan officer's job easier in doing so. Those are my people.
It's funny where we are. It seems like the CTO and CMO are having to become a little bit of buddies, or maybe even more of this. Like, do you see more? How did the role of the CMO changing? Are they becoming more technical, more creative? Like, are they moving their skill? Like, thinking of a character creation, they move your skill points.
What's interesting? That's my my newsletter I just put out this morning is exactly that. Why CMOs fail in mortgage, and it's mostly because the C-suite doesn't understand that the CTO and the CMO, there technically should be a bridge between those, in my humble opinion. I assure you I've studied this.
Oh, yeah.
The CIO.
We're here. You're here to give us your opinion, girl.
All right. If the CTO is here and the CMO is here, the CIO the Chief Innovation Officer should really be the translator between the two, which is, hey, sales wants X. Okay, sales saw something at a show. They're super excited. There's the penny. Woo!
AI.
Look at that shiny penny.
Yeah.
And the CIO says, hey, that actually is a really great product. We have 8 different vendors who can actually get us the same data. So what's important is understanding, 1, all your tech partners and what they offer. 2, how to fold that technology into your current stack without having to revolutionize or hire 10 more people. Then 3, how are you going to make that technology alive in your organization? Because where tech fails is because all mortgage companies are like, we have the tech. Look, cool. What does that mean? So what most mortgage companies do is they make people learn the tech. I don't like that. Nor do I like when we make them learn the tech and then teach it to realtors, because that's also the complete thing. What I like to do is I like to build the technology into our CRM, merge it all together, and then figure out where to introduce it so that we don't have to rely upon the loan officer to learn these 8 pieces of tech. Instead, we can just allow them to know when we want them to step in. That's the kind of technology I built for years, but it's not the typical tech. I don't know why, but that's not how the approach usually goes. And so to your point, if the head of sales doesn't know how to filter suggestions from sales, then their opinion is going to be different. And if the sales tech or salesperson doesn't know the tech, they can't possibly know how to answer people, right? So the head of sales, the head of marketing, and the head of technology, they've got to have a brain trust. That's how it should be positioned in every company. But can most marketing people speak technology? No. Right. They can use some, but they can't speak it typically. And marketing people, I'm also that, right? I'm enough tech to be dangerous, but I certainly don't know. I can't even spell AI sometimes. Okay, so it's challenging for all of us.
But you do have a badass counterpart, Kelly. I've met him.
Oh, I don't know that he's necessarily my counterpart anymore, but if we ever work together again, probably the most secret sauce you can have in this world is 2 translators. So I am a translator and Ben Thornburg is a translator. I translate beautifully sales, marketing into tech. Ben takes that and makes it alive within tech and understands how to ask the right things so that we get results from it. And, it was actually it was such a surprise to me. This is probably a few months ago. I was explaining to someone how we had, essentially about 70 different personalized journeys within Motivator, which was the CRM that we built together and did and loved so much. And somebody said 70, like how, why? And I was like, oh, because I had been. Because if I have an idea and I want that idea deployed, it could just easily be deployed. People don't live in a world where things get done like that. I just got done talking to somebody about a website who told me it was going to take 3 months and $25,000. And I started laughing so hard I didn't know what to do with myself. And I was like, I'll do it for $5,000 and I'll do it in 3 weeks. And she said, well, that can't happen. Okay. Yeah, except
And then you deliver it.
this is the world we live in now, friends.
Yeah.
There you go.
So yeah,
Kelly's
I mean, that's a
saying you do
long answer, but that's the truth, is that, you know, marketing is only ever going to be as strong as the people who believe that marketing is important. Technology is only going to be as good as the C-suite deems it important enough and budgets it accordingly. And if we live in a world that constantly placates sales, then we're going to really be screwed, because right now your number one vision, if you're a mortgage company, is probably still recruiting. Got to get volume in here. Got to get these recruits in here.
Yeah.
The problem is that you bring them into a sea of wishes, and then you can't figure out why they don't succeed.
Well, I think it's funny you talked about how things are kind of stagnant, because I still think there might be mortgage companies that think that borrowers want mortgage market updates every week and along with the recipe. Like, I still think recipes are a thing.
Chicken recipes for life.
If somebody can figure out something that actually makes sense in that, I'll be impressed.
Oh, I don't know, sir. I carried a 48% weekly open rate on my weekly realtor marketing for 7 years.
Impressive. That's impressive. I delete my realtors.
You're the only people who think it's impressive, right? Because people are like, what's the average industry?
No, I think that's amazing that you can get
4 to
those kind of numbers.
6%.
Yeah.
But why not? But why did they open them? This is the key, right? Because I've been making the chicken recipe joke for 10 years. I'm like, I swear to God, if you send me a chicken recipe, you're going to unsubscribe.
Not another recipe? Is that the subject line?
Recipe and rates. Recipe and rates. Oh my gosh. Do you know what the rates are doing? Oh yeah, because I have Google. Go away. So
because I care. Like,
right. How does this have anything to do with how I'm gonna get a buyer into a house? So what we pioneered, by God, back in 2014 was, what can we tell you this week that helps you grow your business, realtor?
right.
And it's my job to do it 52 times. Now, 2 of those, I'll be honest with you, we're also like, thank you so much. You're the greatest person that's ever lived. No realtor has ever been the realtor you are. A couple of those a year. But the rest of them were really just like, hey, you're probably interested in how video can impact you. Here's a really simple video that you could do this week that's going to get a lot of traction.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Can we? I want to come back to, we were talking about C-suite. And Chris and PK know this is a topic that is near and dear to my soapbox, which is the build versus buy conversation, right? And so I can't wait to get your opinion, because I think what happens a lot of times, right, is you do get the, SVP of whatever, right, who goes to a conference, who meets, say a PK or me or somebody else, hear about the product, and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. We really want it. They take a look at it, right? It's a slam dunk. People in the organization want it. And then the CTO or the CIO is like, we can build that. And then they take it in-house, right? They decide to build it. And most of the time it doesn't go very well, I think, is the best way for me to say that. Obviously, by your face, I know what I might hear from your opinion. So I'd love to hear your opinion on that take, what you've seen, and what are things that people in the C-suite can do maybe to help overcome that obstacle.
One, if you have a CEO at your company who needs help to use his own remote control or has to send all of his emails from an iPad, you've really got a situation where someone isn't going to understand where you're going. And so look around your C-suite and say, is our end decider here, do they really understand technology? That's got to be the very first thing that you're asking yourselves. Because if your decider thinks it's not a priority, you should really spruce up your resume and start immediately sending it out, because it's just not going to fly anymore. I know we're all laughing because I say
No, you're so true. I mean,
oh,
you're
I know. Like
spot on.
There's nothing about Kelly's reputation as the only one that'll say the things that I don't enjoy. But I'm like, I don't care. I genuinely don't. Like, I'm not in the business of do you want me to be on the treadmill? You want me to tell you how nothing in mortgage is ever going to change, and we're all just going to go back to 2017, and it's going to rain applications, and direct to consumer is not going to bother us, and there's going to be another refi boom? Shut up. Like, I don't have the time to do that with you. If you're somebody that wants to spin that, go ahead. But like, the days of that are well behind me, because whoever I'm going to work with is going to speak the same language as me. And for most suites, when you've got a sales guy who became a good salesperson and a branch manager and then a regional manager and has been traveling around recruiting people, and then all of a sudden ends up as your C-suite, at no time did that human being go to business school or technology school. So now we're asking people who don't have a technical acumen to make incredibly high-level technology decisions, and how important they think it is compared to how important it is to the company are usually two different conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't surprise me that you go to trade shows or you have these great conversations with people who are the deciders, who are like, this will be revolutionary to my business. And then you get teed up to somebody who goes, oh, that's expensive, and we can do that because you just put it in ChatGPT now, right? And it just magically happens. And,
Claude coded over the weekend.
Claude can code anything, okay? I don't know. I can call him Claude. I'm on a first name basis with him. He comes to my computer every day. Like, I can't live in some sort of like world like that. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about giving marketing people the kind of voice that they're going to need for the future. Because I have news for anybody who doesn't believe it. Your marketing team, your technology team, that little combination right there, if you think that's not worth 1,000 loan officers, you're not living in 2025.
Right. Can we talk a little bit about... I'm jumping in here because I want to get this question in before I have to leave. So marketing and AI. I want to hear your takes on this. My very early take. I have a lot of creative friends, particularly in the screenwriting world, and everybody was freaking out in the beginning. And my take was always that creatives will survive and quite frankly thrive more than anyone else, right? Like, at least I have not seen an AI platform out there that's going to suddenly take over my social media or is going to do, perfect, hilarious, catchy copyright for my website or anything of that nature. And in my opinion, people like yourself and who are absolutely critical. Now, you with AI, 100%. I can see that 10xing you. But nobody wants to hire me in AI as their CMO, I can assure you, right? So can you talk a little bit about that and sort of your take on that area and the tools that are out there, and maybe some of the things, you don't have to give away all the secrets, but maybe some of the things that you use?
Yes, I can do all of those things. So it's funny because I've been working with a client. I'm not going to give out their name. I'm working for the client about 20 hours a week for the past few weeks, and the leaders of that company went away for 2 weeks. I worked there for about a week, and then they left for 2 weeks. While they were gone, I went through every single marketing request that they'd had for the past 2 years, redid every single one of them, laid out the entirety of their new rebranding, laid out the entirety of their new website, wrote all the content for all interior pages, put together their entire video list of things that we're going to need for the website, and put their entire Q4 strategy together. It took me about 45 hours to do that. I'm not saying that, oh, hey, here's like, I'm so cool. That's not it. Welcome to my world, right? Where I said, hey, let's go back and forth, Claude, you and me, okay, on a date. And what did I ask Claude? Claude, I've got this person. This is what they were. This is what they want to be. Let's you and I talk about what they need to be to move the needle for their business. Here are the baseline facts about the business. Here's exactly what I think. Here's the analysis that I did. Ask me questions now. You're absolutely right, Claude. I did not think about this, or this, but I don't think this one's a priority. How would we be able to look at these three competitors, find out what they do the best, and how we can market against that? Now, by the time I am done, the back and forth between Claude and I is an extreme thing, right? We've had 70, 80, 90 conversations back and forth. And then I'm able to say, stop. This is great. Let's put together a 30-day and a Q4. Let's think about what's reasonable with this amount of hours and with the technology that I use. And let's give them a price on what it's going to take to get them to the next level. Will they believe it's possible? No. People don't believe that a very good CMO using things I need on a daily basis. I use chat, and I use Claude. I use Canva every single day. I build all my websites in Duda. Those are pretty much my four. And I can do the job of an entire marketing department by myself. Now, do I want to do graphics? Not really, because it can be done so much better by someone else, but I can lead those graphics. I can absolutely put together the kind of social media calendar that you just spoke to. But the difference between me using Claude for a social media calendar for September 2025 and another person doing that same thing is vast. And so to your point, Andrew, how we use it, right? What we say, that still has to be someone's overall vision and strategy and idea for how to make a company successful. That part's not going to come from Claude. I can ask it, sure. Hey, Claude, made me successful. No one's ever thought to ask you this one before. Look at this. But AI isn't going to make a company successful. It's not going to make me successful. It's going to give me insane levels of shortcuts. If I would have had these tools 10 years ago, when I was, first of all, when I was building Motivator, if I would have had these tools, the amount of hours, I mean, it's just thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours that I would have saved. But also, I ran the Motivator team, which had 2,500 users on 11 human beings. And we were in charge of all website content strategy, all that stuff, plus the CRM, plus all integrations. So that was 11 people. Now I bet I could do it on 5.
Well, there you go. Now, hopefully everybody knows why they should go hire Kelly. I'm probably going to have to talk to Kelly after this call. I do have to depart, so I'm going to actually. This will be funny because I'm going to actually have to come back and watch the last half hour of this show. So I will leave it to you guys. Hopefully, I leave the room, Chris, and it all works out. And Kelly, thank you, and we'll be talking soon. For sure.
All right, sounds good. All right,
and successful. We're still here.
We're still here.
Okay. Kelly, I got a question. I'm sure you're a student of the game as well, but what are the companies you admire when it comes to marketing? Like you're like, okay, these guys are obviously they've got it down. They've got the positioning right. They've got the messaging right. Like if every mortgage company could be like these 3 to 5 companies or however many you have on your list, like you're doing it right.
The way that Mace is already making fun of me.
I was like, just look at my client list. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I wouldn't even. It's funny because I don't actually put a lot out on the people who we work with. We kind of do it strategically because at the end of the day, I actually don't want, unless I'm genuinely going to work with a mortgage company, I don't want the reason that they were successful to be something that I'm like shining my self with. When I look around at branding alone, right? So how are people showing up with brand? I don't mind the NAFs of the world. I think the individual storytellers in many situations are stronger than the mortgage companies themselves. There are mortgage leaders who speak to things really well. That is something I see more often than not. I don't know that I would be able to say to you, this mortgage company really has it dialed in X. I can look at Movement. Movement did an extraordinary job in branding, right? A lot of that came from Casey, right? When I saw Casey last, he was telling me basically their line of clothing is like, it's crazy how it sells, right? Because they put that branding on the hats and the shirts and stuff like that. So from a brand perspective, and incidentally, I made fun of that name a solid month before you guys even knew it was going to be Movement. Okay, because we knew in Charlotte, because they were my direct competition for most of my career. And so I was like, how is Movement going to be the name? But they really did. They took it to a super cool level, right? People were excited to be under that umbrella. Do I think that they have the point people to revolutionize the game? From what I understand, Lyra at Movement is incredibly similar to myself. I've heard, I don't know, 10, 12 people say that to me. So that's a company where I'm like, I can see that. I don't know how many people do marketing well. And that's honestly been true every day of the 13 years that I've been in this industry. I don't know why that happens. And so for me, a higher bar than even brand or marketing is, if I, Kelly, want to do business with a mortgage company, what is that interaction like? Right? How do I find them? Where am I seeking them? When I find them, how do they walk me through in the easiest way through a beautifully curated question and answer segment that lets them know when they call me back exactly what I'm looking for and how to have an intelligent conversation with me? How do I know, looking at the marketing they send back, that they listened to me, that they know who I am and what I'm after? Because that, to me, is the most critical piece that mortgage companies simply don't do, is serve the personalized interest of their buyers and their business partners. We love to talk to everybody like they're one human being. I don't know if you know this or not, PK, but before like 3 years ago, non-white people didn't even buy houses. Did you know? According to mortgage marketing, that 100% is the truth.
I'm like, yo, my parents bought a house.
Nope, definitely not. Not
No.
what we saw. No, sir. Because if mortgage marketing doesn't look like dental marketing, I don't know what does. It's all like white people with big white smiles holding keys on a porch, and you're like, what is this? And so how are you not tone deaf as a mortgage? It's really what it boils down to, right? So if I'm buying a house and I'm not married, and you're sending me pictures of the happy couple on the front porch with the key, you failed. Every time you send me one of those, you fail. Because I don't need a man to buy a house, and I sure shit don't need him smiling at me, holding a key to make sure that I feel successful. You should be talking to me about how amazing it is for a woman in business to buy a house.
Amen. I love it.
I mean, I could go on a rant. If I didn't, I think that might have been a rant. Yeah. Okay. Fair. No,
you're good. No, you're good. So what the nuance you're bringing out there is like, there's one concept of like branding, which is like, your organization level. And then there's the other level of which is like at the loan officer level of like the individual marketing their services and their ability to do the loans, but like meeting the customer where they're at, whether it's a single mother or a, small business owner or whatever or like, maybe they're Indian, for example. It's like, how do you meet them where they're at in their unique journey and personalized journey?
Well, I mean,
that's like a whole sepeparate thing.
So PK, you don't get the chicken recipes. You get tikka masala. I'm sorry.
I'm writing it out right now. So Ben and I got in a big argument about this about 5 years ago because I am crazy when it comes to this topic, because I hate canned marketing like nobody's business. And what I wanted to do was, I said, we choose when we buy, right? Or when we pick a psychologist, or when we pick people we work with, We want to see a reflection of ourselves. We want to see it.
Mhm.
So for me, if I had an Indian family who was going to buy a house, I would want them to see themselves reflected in that marketing. And Ben was like, well, I don't know that that's a good idea because, like, you know, what if you have people who are speculating that this is, they maybe get the wrong thing or that? And I said, isn't it the job of every single salesperson to know who they're selling to? So if you can't figure this out, or if you haven't asked someone if they have kids or what their goals are or who else is going to be on the loan with them, all these questions that you ask, this is your intake. It is your job, or a really brilliant systems job, to say, what is the avatar of this person? And how do we someday do business with them? 3 months from now, 3 years from now, 30 years from now? How do we make sure that we understand them, understand what their needs are? We're not sending them dumb things that they're going to delete and unsubscribe from. We want to be able to say, I see you. I understand where we're going, and you can count on me to always be the one that gets you there. And we don't market like that. We market like, ooh, loans. Okay, I got your loan now, and we're going to go, and it's going to be great. Yay! But at no time do we put the focus back on that customer, right? The system that we built won the J.D. Power and Associates customer satisfaction for like 4 years in a row. And all we actually did to win that award was, on behalf of the company, we just explained every nuance of moving into a new house. From the minute they started talking to their loan officer until 5-6 months after they moved, we laid every component of it out. So the realtor was really spoiled because we took care of half of the communication for like what to bring to the closing table and how to understand like inspection reports and what an appraiser does, when to turn on their, you know, their utilities, how to move with pets, how to move with kids, all these different things that were not, you know, the robot-y kind of spammy crap that most mortgage companies put out. We were saying, we see you. I see the fact that you are a young family with kids. I know you need an email that tells you about the Berenstein book that you can buy for them, talking to them about moving to a new place. And I know how to tell you to take them to the neighborhood playground to meet some of the kids. And there are lots of different special ways that you can make people feel seen. And in the mortgage industry, most of the time, I feel like we let people float about completely unseen until we really need them, until they go under contract. And then we pay attention again.
Mm-hmm. It's like
so even the 70 customer journeys you're talking about there, that's not like, it seems like a lot, but like there's even more than that are out there. Like if
I had my way, if I were ever in the business of building a new CRM, which I'm never going to be in that business, but if I was in the business of curating and building out a CRM, which I'm all the time in the business of, that's one of the things that I have to convince people of all the time, right? Which is, it doesn't have to be that we build all 70 B2B and B2C, right? That doesn't have to be something that you do. But then we have to lean in on whatever AI tools that are going to be present in that CRM so that you can personalize these things per the conversation. A lot of what I talk to people about is using like Fathom or Otter to record their conversations and then ask that recording, what were these important things that we went over? Put those in the notes of your CRM, but also have it be what you follow back up with. Make sure that there's some campaign, some ongoing marketing that's going to show them that you truly understand what it is to be a move up buyer. Well, if you don't know, if you're just like home buyer, well, a move-up buyer has to sell their house in this current environment where they're going to get less for their house than they think they deserve. They're going to be buying a house where they're going to get a price, you know, a pretty decent price on it, but they're unsure of where rates are. So think about all the different things that I've said and how that conversation should be structured. Hey, you probably are thinking about this, or you might be worried about this. What happens if your house doesn't sell? Well, we're having a different conversation than I would with a first-time home buyer. And I had 5 first-time home buyer campaigns because that's how many you need. I would honestly take 10.
Yeah, but it sounds like today's tools, Kelly, like you had to operate more in a more rigid rollout. And now it seems like, you know, we have buyer personas would be a good kind of concept, right?
Right.
Most mortgage companies are like, want to get home. All right, that's one buyer persona. You're like, you're talking, first time or move up. Now we've got two, family, no family, but now we're looking at dynamic, right? It's not really like individualized. It's like aspects of the borrower give them different parts of the journey, more so than just having 140 buyer personas.
And if we think about it, and Chris, you and PK and I, we speak tech, right? So like, back in the day, that was all workflow driven, right? So if this, then this.
Mm-hmm.
And now, hypothetically, right? Because as much AI is built into mortgage CRMs as depending on which one you've seen and played with, we can ask it some things, right? It's technically going to be good at looking at the notes and spitting out a reply, or thinking about, hey, look at all of this and tell me what kind of campaign this person should be on or how I should be reaching out to them. But if I could have a CRM that I could say, we understand this first time buyer persona, right? Anybody who's between the ages of 22 and 28, who's currently renting, who's unmarried, these are the attributes that need to be present in how we're marketing to them. What would be your strategy for how to do that? But no AI is going to build that campaign out for you. I mean, they'll build you out what they think you're going to want. But you, at the end of the day, you, not the loan officer, God, because that's really it. At the end of the day, that's who has to do it. If somebody's going to do it, if they really want to get it done. But mortgage companies should be thinking in terms of, where are these data sets that we currently have access to, that we can say, let's just hypothetically say rates drop, right? This group here has an interest rate of 8 to 8.5%. They live here, they do this. This is how we're going to market to this particular segment. If you think about every database having that same kind of ability to be segmented, what I was doing when I closed Motivator is exactly that. I just would pull data sets all the time, right? So if I saw like a dip in applications, then I would simply go back 6 months, find anybody who is pre-approved, send them a thing that says, hey, your pre-approval is expired. We need to make sure we get you this in case you find your dream home, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden we're flush with applications again. So it also really depends on how you've set yourself up for the future. Because not only do we have audiences we meet every day, we've got a massive database of people who can do business with us all the time that simply isn't tapped into, right? Here's a good example of that. I used to say to people constantly, we refused to let any human that we interacted with not do a loan with us. It's just a matter of when. So therefore, if somebody came and a loan officer ran their credit was too low, what happens next? Bye, see ya. Okay, I'm moving on to my next loan. Have a great day. We took every single person who had a credit score sub 650, put them through an incredible, rigorous training camp of how to understand their credit report and dispute inaccuracies and build positive credit. Did they do it? I have no idea. I genuinely don't know. I hope they did, because there were tens of thousands of human beings on that. But what I definitely did was make sure that I monitored their credit score, because the second it hit 690 or whatever the number was, we, the system, congratulated them on all their hard work. And then we told them it's time to talk to your loan officer again. And then we told the loan officer. So there were tens and thousands of curated relationships that were going on behind the loan officer's back. That sounds weird, but really underneath their nose, right? That they would have never been deals. But then they would come back. Now, the loan officer would always say, like, oh, hey, yeah, I would have talked to them anyway. Of course you would have. Absolutely. There's no reason to pat me on the back for that. But if you think about that at scale, and then you just take every single segment of people and you apply that logic to those segments, the kind of machine you end up building and running is preposterous. It's a money printer, because every relationship should have some level of curation. What does this realtor need from me? They're not working with me today. How can I bring them value so they become a referral partner? That is that's a realtor prospect. So we have to market to them. We have to be of value to them. But when you're going one to many and you're going one to millions of curated records, a mortgage company wouldn't have to buy leads or recruit more volume. They just have to play a different game. And that game is called, how do I make the people who work here now successful? And that's not usually a game we try to play.
Mm. So you talked earlier about the shiny toy.
Mhm.
All right. And I remember when I was at Sendera, the CEO would go to more MBA every year, and I'd be like, fuck, what is he going to come back with now? Right. Did you know that we can, like, what is the biggest myth that you see C-suites? You know, let's just say you've got 10 clients and they're all going to MBA together, and you're like, what are you just nervous about them coming back, shiny toy that you need to debunk?
I mean, right now, I mean, for the last few years, it's been AI, to be fair. I mean, I think that's everyone's sort of thing, like, because there's
Well, what aspect of AI would you say is the biggest myth that you would dispel?
So there's two, right? So there's the idea that AI can take over the job of the loan officer, which is this keeps us in a panic all the time. And, you know, Andrew made a good point about this, and I don't mean to kind of segue to it, but I do want to say something to it, because at the beginning of the conversation, you said, you know, it really shook people up, right? The AI coming on board. When I was 19 years old, I was going to be a writer. Hands down a writer. I'd been a writer my whole life. I was so excited. I was in college. One day, this pissant TA comes in. This dude slams his bag on the table, right? And he looks at us and he goes, I don't know why you're in an English literature class, because the internet is going to kill writers. And so the only thing you're ever going to do is be a $30,000 a year professor. And so if that's what you want, go ahead and stay in English literature, but you're never going to be a writer.
Wow. And how wrong was he? Wow.
Well, it's hard for me to know, because I changed to interior design after that. So I really believed it. I mean, he was so like that about it, right? And I was like, maybe there won't be room for writers. My entire career has been me being a writer. And so it's strange now to look back on it and think, gosh, I wasted 3 years going to interior design school. But, you know, at the same time, look at this wallpaper.
I was going to say, what is this?
No, but you bring up the perfect example, right? And it's exactly your point, and why I'm so tired of listening to people.
Right.
It's another rant I can go on, but the internet literally created millions of more jobs for writers, aka blogs. And there are a lot of people who make a lot of money on blogs and newsletters. And those didn't exist before. So it'll be funny to watch 10, 15, 20 years from now when all of a sudden we're like, oh, there's more LOs or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
I think people who aren't good at their jobs are really nervous that technology could come in and be better at their jobs. But the problem is, that's not a technology problem. You're try doing something well.
It's a you problem.
It's a you problem.
Yeah, Kelly, you've probably experienced this too. And whenever you're working at mortgage companies, you know, those people that are just like, well, I'm just not good at tech, so you can just do this part for me. It's like, those people are numbered. I think those days for those kind of people that are like, well, I just, you know, I don't know tech. So like, you know, that person's not going to survive.
Do you want to hear the most sexist,
oh yes,
ageist comment I ever had made to me?
To you. God, I thought you were going to say.
No, I try not to be any ists around anyone. I've been in mortgage for a couple of years, and we hired this loan officer who was very, very good at her job, but she thought tech was spelled TECK. She just wasn't exactly our best customer, right? And my branch manager, business partner at the time, came in and he said, well, we all know no woman over the age of 47 is going to acclimate to new technology. And as a sweet woman, age 37 at the time, I clutched my pearls. I was like, sir, I mean, I have never seen it disproven. So it's challenging for me, because I want so much from like one person to be like, yeah, you know what? I totally programmed that thing last night. I actually do know one person. But for the most part, the realities of the average age of loan officers in the industry and the way that they've always done business, it's not exactly a fair ask. And also, no mortgage company every single mortgage company should literally be disgusted by itself in its behavior over the last 10 years. In this whole, there's plenty of money, so we'll just plug in any technology that anyone finds sexy. We won't train to it. We won't support it. Nobody can ask questions about it. We'll just keep rolling out new stuff, not care if people are catching up. You've given them the kind of fatigue where, do you want to remember 20 different passwords? No, of course you don't. Can you acclimate to new technology if someone's really not making it accessible to you? And I think that's where the unfairness really kind of came in. Loan officers created their own problems with I saw something sexy and I really want the shiny penny. And mortgage companies really have done a terrible job in saying no. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't have said that. But you can actually say, no, we don't need another CRM. We currently have 6. No, we don't need to have another data solution. We already have all the data we need. But you need someone at your organization who can answer that question and just say, no, we've got something better. Something dialed in, something automated, something that's going to make your life easier. Because otherwise, you're just lying to them. And then you're putting all this like, oh, well, these loan officers, blah, blah, blah. That's where you get the people who are scared of AI. They're going to be scared. You made tech inaccessible to them. And all they hear is how they're not good at this. And they're already scared about this. So do I want to say, hey, in 3 years, here's what your life is really going to be like if you're a loan officer, as long as you are great at sales and have put a tremendous amount of work into your database, it's going to be fine because people are going to opt in to speak to you. That's how this is going to go.
Right. I think it has to be important though. Like you got to treat them like toddlers, and that that comma is important, because when I tell my daughter no, I tell her no because. Right. Like you have to have something to go with that instead of just, I think they go too far of bending the knee, and then they just start doing the opposite, which I said no because I said so. Well, then they're like, then you start this,
So, well, the whole thing is a shell game. It starts with recruiting. Like I use this analogy way too much. I'm sure PK's already heard me use it, but like, this is the show, right? Okay, I'm going to recruit these high-level loan officers. I'm going to get myself I'm going to charter a deep sea fishing boat, and here come all the dudes, all the Chads and the Brads, and no one's got hair. We're all white. Everybody gets on the boat. Everybody gets on the boat. We're talking about their Travis Matthews shirts and how amazing they are as loan officers, and showing them all the snacks. Showing them how many different kinds of special lure we got, and all the CEOs are backslapping, and everyone's so happy. And finally, someone puts a rod in the water, and down goes the bait. You want to know where I am? I'm in scuba gear, holding a swordfish, so that when I see the lure, I just go and I give it a yank. Why? Because I know the only thing that actually matters is them getting the fish on the boat, holding it up for the picture, and feeling successful.
I love it.
You put together all this thing, telling them how great they are and doing all this stuff, but what do they actually want? The ability to do loans easily.
Yep.
Why don't we sell that when we recruit? No. What do we say? Oh my God, the culture and the onboarding and the training and the products. You just wait till you get in here, and then you start on your first day, and they're like, hey, I think you're going to be in training today. I'm not really sure, but it's going to take you about 30 days to even be able to sign into Encompass. Hope you have a great day. And we leave them to flounder, to move their entire brand under our new brand, to transition all of these things by themselves. And then we ask why they fail. We say yes to their every wish. We give them nothing but confusion. And then we blame them for not doing loans.
I love it.
There's so many things I have from that. The first one is, so Kelly, I come from capital markets, secondary side. I'm kind of new to the front end originations. And recently someone told me they had 2 LOSs, and the look on my face, like I couldn't wrap my head around that. Like I was so confused as to why. And then you telling me like 6 POSs and 5 CRMs. And I'm like, well, now that's not a tech stack. That's like a mess.
Well, it's a stack if you put it all in like one big list, because that's what they do. They put their logo on top, and then they go.
We're playing Jenga, quite frankly.
Come on in.
The Jenga tech stack.
Motivator had to integrate with 6 POSs, 6 POSs, 2 LOSs. It had to talk to at least one other CRM, even though we shouldn't have. And then it had about 12 different pieces of mortgage technology that actually integrated into it. And every time there was a new wish, do you think that there was $1 given for integration? Absolutely not. I paid for every integration. But every time somebody said yes, that came at a price tag for me.
Isn't it amazing though, Kelly, that I believe that was one of their value props was that they offered the you pick kind of vibe.
Well, I mean, what a fantastic thing. So like, let's go analogy style again, because this is my other analogy for it. I'm going to own a muffin shop. I don't want to have a storefront. I'm going to have individual salespeople who come in, and I'm going to do 6 muffins a day, and I'm going to give everybody 20 muffins, and they're going to go out and sell those muffins. Only I may or may not actually have the muffins done. And sometimes I don't actually have what I'm supposed to have. But you know what I do? I let all my salespeople tell me how the muffins aren't what they want. They run my muffin shop and tell me how wrong I am all the time. And then I am like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. And why can't we sell more muffins? You can't sell muffins because salespeople are running you around and because your offering isn't strong enough. And if you want to be a company that's going to do really well over these next few years, stop saying you're going to acclimate and start hiring and developing into a company that people want to come work for, so you don't have to constantly be throwing the fishing line in 24/7, all the time. Because this is all we talk about in this industry. Is like, we got to get more people in here. Well, if your place isn't somewhere that somebody should be working and is giving them the tools to be successful for the next 3 to 5 years, and if the next 3 to 5 years don't scare you as an organization, I don't want to work there.
Well, it sounds like you have to be a female anyway. I'm going to leave out my joke on that one.
Okay.
I think Casey knows what he needs to do to hire you. We have our at the end of every episode, Kelly. I don't know that do we know who our guest is next week?
We didn't prep her. Our guest is from Model Map. It's Thomas from Model Match.
I don't like Thomas from Model Match, so you can tell him I said that, and I don't like Eric either. Okay, spread it around. No, I actually that the one fun fact about Kelly is that when you are all by yourself as a woman in technology and mortgage technology, as I was for a very long time, and when you pay for everything for your own platform, every CEO of every mortgage technology company, and chances are like you've got a really good relationship with them. And Model Match and what they're doing to what Thomas is doing over there. Now, is he doing what I want him to do this year? No, you can tell him I said that. But I think that they're doing really brilliant things over there. So you're going to have a great conversation.
Well, so Kelly, you are going to be asking him. Well, we're asking on your behalf a question next week. So tell us what you want us to ask him.
Oh, ask him why I can't just build a CRM that will ingest all that data.
All right. Now
you said, oh my God, that's so bad. He's going to be like, I hate Kelly Yale right now.
But I'm going to ask that question for sure. Now I'm
totally
it's like locked in.
Love it.
Well, and so last week we had Peter Bannister on, and he had a question for you because he was using ChatGPT to kind of be his kind of pseudo CRM, kind of, right, Andrew?
Okay.
And so I'm reading from the transcript here, but he said, how do we get out of a sales meeting or a conference, say something, and the marketing content, LinkedIn post emerge and appear such I can very quickly increase my speed to market?
So you are at a conference, or if you're at a conference and somebody's standing on a stage and you don't want to sit there and like write all these things down, right? You can certainly ask ChatGPT what that person's really profoundly good at and what they've, go through and look through all of the talks they've given in the last 6 months and give me the highlights and the notes of all those things, right? But the reality is when you're at a conference, you're going to hear things that are impactful, right? And there's going to be stuff that is the thing that you write in the notebook. the magic notebook that never goes anywhere, right? That you just have notes for forever. Take those 5 things that really meant something to you, put that in chat and say, I want to make these ideas alive in my organization. And I want it to inspire the people who work here to take this out to their people. Therefore, how can I break down this messaging that really resonated with me in a way that will resonate with them? And then take it one step further. How do you make marketing that'll support that idea, right? So telling the loan officers and the people who work at the company, hey, this is really what I got out of this. But then also translate it for the loan officers, for their business partners, so they can be inspired by it as well.
Wow. You know, so I think that all humans right now are developing AI filters to either filter out people that are like content that is AI, and also be able to recognize game. When Kelly, I'm like, I can tell she prompt engineers. Like as you're saying what you're saying, I'm like, that's a prompt engineer right there.
Wait, can I have one last question of you, Kelly? Is
Yes, sir.
when you use for social media in terms of writing and ideation,
Yeah.
are you Claude or are you GPT?
So I'm both, actually, if you want to know a little secret sauce on me. So I keep
Please.
the majority of, say, I use chat as this great encyclopedia of a business that I can always look back through, right? Because we have so many conversations about the business. Then I go through and I say, I know I want September to really focus on this. Plus, this company has this, this, and this that they're going to be focused on in September. I need a lead up to that, and I need the day of, and I need an after for that, right? So if they're having some sort of event, right? I need the lead up for that event. I need the day of the event, and then I need some stuff on the back end of that event. So we will talk, Chad and I will go back and forth, and then I take it over to Claude and I say, you know how I like to write for this client. I want to be highly engaging and think about the way that this audience responds to social media posts, as you've seen from my analytics from what we've been doing so far. I want to get more likes and more people to come to these events. How can we position this effectively so that people will be more excited? Then I do a third step, which is I put it into a Word document, and then I use Grammarly, and I love Grammarly's rewrite. And so I will have it actually rewrite the majority of the things that I write, and then I'll put sort of a little funny spin into it for every like little thing that I see. So I'm highly involved, and that's the thing. Somebody a couple weeks ago said something real shitty to me, and because I had sent over like something, and she says, "Well, you just use ChatGPT." You're correct. I did. You have no idea what that actually means in my world. And I know that you're used to calling people out on that and thinking you won that conversation. But the trouble is, this took an hour and a half. I didn't just go, it's September, I'm in mortgage, chicken, recipes, and rates.
The perfect analogy I've always used this, just because Home Depot sells saws doesn't mean I'm a finished carpenter.
1,000,000%.
And it's the exact same.
Even if I have a YouTube that explains to me step by step how to fix a toilet, I'm not going to do it, and I'm scared of it, and I don't have the tools. You know what I mean? Like, yes, the information is out there. Yes, ChatGPT can almost walk me through getting a loan, but you know what it can't do? It can't reason. And it can't look at me as an individual, and it can't know what's important to me and what my 10-year kind of goals are and how that actually fits into a loan program. And so we can tell ourselves until the cows come home that the robots are coming for our jobs. But I'd be more afraid if I were in mortgage of people who were dialing in direct to consumer to look like a loan officer doing it. Than I would ever be worried about, whether or not AI is going to take over my job. I think the smart loan officers have already been thinking about how their database is going to get them to the next point. And if there's anything I think that you should do moving forward, it is build that database. And I've been saying it since 2013. And it only became sexy to say 10 years later, because 2023 is when people started saying it from stages. And then now, of course you had to have a database. And I was like, I'll show you a curated database of a loan officer that I have had under me for the last 12 years that has never stopped being curated, that genuinely should be studied by this industry on how to truly approach every human being you meet with this one idea. At some point in our relationship, I'm going to serve you with what I do, whether that is as a business partner, whether that is as a referral, whether that is doing your loan, doing your sister's loan. But this relationship will continue because I will always foster it because I care about the people in my database.
Right. I love it. Kelly, thank you so much. We could go on. I could keep going for like a couple hours. We're going to have to bring you back for sure. So, but I really, really appreciate the time. Thank you for letting me step out for a moment. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Kelly.
Wrap. We'll see you back here next week with